Peace be with you. On this beautiful day, it's a cool day in here. We're so glad for the invention of AC. When was AC invented? What did people do before that? These bulletins, yeah. Siestas at the hot time of the day, yes. So it's so good to have you all here online, here in person, and also on the back bench. I'm so glad we saved that back bench for people today. So today is fun fact, I have to tell you at the very start, I love leftovers. I just love leftovers. Does anybody else like leftovers or love leftovers? A lot of people. Anybody online like? Yes, people online too. Excellent, excellent. So I love hearing those words, leftovers again. It's great. I'm like, yes, that's gonna be great. Leftovers again. And today's story of the feeding of the 5,000 read for us by Pam ends with what? What's at the very end of that feeding? What do they have? Leftovers. Yes, they have leftovers at the very end. So 12 large containers of leftovers. So in honor of this story about leftover food, I'm going to give you a quiz now on leftovers. What do you know about leftovers? Okay, are you ready? Yes. Two people already. Good. Okay. Question number 1. When was the first practical and commercially successful refrigerator invented? 1910 is one guess. Yes. 1930. According to the god of Wikipedia, 1876 by a German inventor, Karl von Lindt. Okay, yeah. 2, how did people preserve food before the invention of the refrigerator? Salt, yes, salt. What else? Root cellars, yes. You dry it out, yes. Oh, colder. It would be colder, yeah. And they would even like slice something off of lakes. Ice, yeah, ice blocks. Also, what's another one? Pickling, curing. I just bought some kimchi from Costco. Great, it's just like grandma's kimchi, in the ground for a few months or years, take it out. It's great. Okay, so you got 1 out of 2 so far. Okay. 3, is it our patriotic duty to create and eat leftovers? No. Some people say no. Who says no? Who says yes? Okay, well, there was a United States Food Administration poster that was created and distributed during World War I that urges citizens, food, don't waste it. Use less wheat and meat. Buy local foods, serve just enough. Use what is left. Isn't that great? From the World War I, buy local foods, even that. 4, do we have to cool foods before we refrigerate them? Let them cool on the counter. You say yes? You say yes? Say yes? No? He says no. No, I know behind you. Yes, if it's really hot, you just put it right in the refrigerator? No, you let it cool on the counter. Okay. Well, I have to say that WebMD says that large amounts can take too long to cool on the counter, allowing a chance for bacteria to grow. And it's best just to throw it right in the refrigerator hot. Okay. So we're kind of like 50-50 so far. Number 5. Is it true that leftovers are safe until they smell? No. That is correct, yes, because you cannot always smell bacteria growing. Yes, very good. You got that one. Excellent. 6. Why does leftover turkey from Thanksgiving taste so good? Why?
Because the seasonings have time to mix.
The seasons have time to mix, yes. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's.
Well, if you want some turkey, you can have.
That's right. It could be a good turkey or bad turkey to begin with, yes, so excellent. So it's part of that time thing. They say that the flavors, the gelatin from the collagen and the tendons has a chance to congeal around the meat, and it traps the flavors in there. And that's why it just tastes, doesn't that sound yummy? that's why leftover turkey tastes so good, so good. Okay, and number 7, and you've heard of the Joy of Cooking cookbook, right? Okay, the 1931 edition was much more excited about leftovers than the 1963. There was a huge section in the 1931 edition that was extolling what do you do with leftovers, how do you prepare it, what do you do, but by the time it came to 1963, it was a drastically condensed section on leftovers. So which joke began the section in 1963 poo-pooing leftovers? Here's the joke. I just want to tell you the joke. Okay, this is what the minister said after his new wife placed a dubious casserole on the table. The minister said, "It seems to me that I have blessed a good deal of this material before." Leftovers. So thank you all for participating in the quiz. Good job. You got about half right. Excellent. This is this year's quiz on the feeding of the 5,000. You're all on your way to becoming great disciples of the way of leftovers, which is the way of Jesus. Because Jesus, if you're listening to what Pam said and read for us from John chapter 6, Jesus is also quizzing his disciples on leftovers. Did he get how he was testing them? He was quizzing them. Look right at, if you have a Bible, you remember, verses 5 and 6. When Jesus looked up, he saw the large crowd coming, and Jesus said to Philip, so he decided, he said, where are we going to buy bread to feed all these people? And the Bible said, Jesus said this because he was quizzing, testing Philip. So Jesus was quizzing his disciples about leftovers, because it ends up with leftovers. And later on he says, well, where did these leftovers come from? So it's all about quizzes. So you are participating in a holy sacred quiz that Jesus first engaged his disciples in. So we're talking about a lot of people coming, 5,000 people. And in those days, sometimes the head of the household would stand for the whole house. So like one person, and it would be like 5 people. This could be 25,000 people we're talking about here. And to see people being healed, to hear your amazing stories, to hear about this person who's making such an incredible difference in their world, and they're out there, they're hungry, they're far, far away from any Dunkin' Donuts. There's no Whole Foods out there in the wilderness at all. And so again, what happens next is absolutely amazing to me. It's a quiz. Jesus starts the quiz. Where are you going to get the bread to feed these people? And they say, the disciples say, whoa, are you crazy? Are you crazy? Do you think do they say that to Jesus? Do they say, okay. But do you think we carry around that kind of money? It would cost around 200 denarii. So in today's terms, that's like $85,000 just for one meal. Who carries around $85,000? They say, we don't have the resources. We cannot make a difference. We can't do this. But Jesus insists. He says, you give them something to eat. You give them something to eat. And so the disciples, they pull what they have, 5 barley loaves, a couple of fish, and then Jesus takes what they have, gathered up, and he looks to heaven, and he blessed it, and he broke the loaves, and he gave it to the disciples to set before the people. So this is the quiz. This is the quiz that Jesus is giving his disciples. Can you feed my people? Can you do it? Can you do it? so they started to distribute the food. Or do we say, we don't have the resources for that. We cannot make a difference. We can't do this. Our communities now are undergoing a lot of stormy weather, and we might ask, well, what can we do right now? What can we do right now? A couple of weeks ago, an assassin tried to kill the former United States president. And you look back over history, 4 US presidents have been assassinated, and at least 15 other presidents have survived assassination attempts. Our country is awash in guns. Last Monday, July 22nd, was what?
National Ice Cream Day.
It was National Ice Cream Day, which coincided with the hottest day in human recorded history. Going back, and I think it could go back like 100, 120,000 years, but at least in recorded history, the hottest day was Monday. What happened on Tuesday?
It was surpassed.
It was hotter on Tuesday. Yes, it was hotter on Tuesday. And so climate chaos is challenging the weather, our crops, our air, our health, our survival. The US Surgeon General put out a report last year on the increasing epidemic of loneliness and isolation in our country, which degrades your health, which raises tensions. And so in the face of all this, Jesus says, you give them something to eat? Oh, we don't have the resources for that. We cannot make a difference. We can't do this. The news magazine Scientific American. Who here reads Scientific American? Some of us, okay. And I've quoted this before. It published an article back on June 15th, 2021. It was called Psychiatry Needs to Get Right with God. Psychiatry Needs to Get Right with God. And it explores spirituality in the treatment of mental health patients. And it's written by David Rosemarin. He's a doctor here at McLean Hospital, right here on the other side of town, and in Belmont. I had a chance to meet and talk with him before the pandemic, when they were still inviting clergy and health professionals over there to see what services they had to offer. And he talked about the mental health of Americans over the course of the pandemic and what was happening to our whole society. And he said, in the past year, American mental health, he was writing from the middle of the pandemic, he said, American mental health sank to the lowest point in history, the lowest point in recorded history. He said, incidences of mental disorders increased by 50%, compared with before the pandemic, and alcohol and other substance abuse just surged as we came into the pandemic, and young adults were more than twice as likely to seriously consider suicide in the middle of the pandemic versus before the pandemic. And what David Rosemarin found, what Dr. Rosemarin found in all of his data, he said, well, there was one group whose mental health was not plunging. Like every group, mental health going down, suicide attempts increasing. It's half of what our health was before. But he said there was one group that actually increased in mental health during the pandemic. There was one group that actually got better, that rose from 4 percentage points better in the midst of the pandemic. And he said, this is the group that worshiped regularly, at least weekly, whether it be in person or online. It made no difference if it was online or in person, but if you worship regularly, at your mosque, at your church, at your synagogue, your mental health actually increased when everyone else was going into a nosedive all around us. We have something special to share. We really do. Whatever our numbers, we have something that our world desperately needs. And he also quoted a journalist, Stephen Fried, who had co-written a book called The Common Struggle. And so Dr. Rosebrand closed out his article. He said the two most underappreciated treatments for mental disorders, the two most underappreciated treatments for mental disorder are love and faith. Love and faith. Something about this community centered here and in other places where people meet to practice the ways of love and faith. It makes the difference even in the midst of a pandemic when everything else is plunging all around us. Maybe we do have something to give. So again, let's look at this miracle of the feeding of the 5,000 families, I'll call them, 5,000 families. So what happened here? What was the miracle that was happening? So did Jesus look at a bunch of stones and go, boom, bread? Is that what happened? Maybe. What's the miracle? We all have different ideas about it. He said, you give them something to eat, you give them something to eat. And so, what was the miracle of the feeding of the 5,000? Maybe I'll quiz you afterwards in coffee hour. But some of my thoughts, and again, I'm interpolating from the text, there were probably at least a couple of different types of families that went into the wilderness. Out from the big city. They knew there were no Starbucks out there was no Whole Foods. They had to prepare for the journey because they're going out. So they packed ahead of time. They packed enough food ahead of time. They knew what life was like to survive out there. And there were other families that were so excited about going out, or they're just very poor, they didn't have much at all. So they're all seated there, and they ran out of food. Then they're hungry, and Jesus looks at them and said, they're hungry, you give them something to eat. And so again, Jesus blesses the meal, and he broke the hearts of those who had enough food. And the ones with plenty shared with those who had none. So think about, what's the greater miracle that could have occurred here? Is the greater miracle that Jesus could do like abracadabra magic and make bread come out of stones? Or is the miracle that he could take our hearts and break them apart so we can share with those in need around us? Which is the greater miracle? The disciples did pass the quiz that day. They trusted in Jesus, they shared what little they had, and in the final part of the quiz, Jesus had the disciples collect all the leftovers. Again, this is all about leftovers today. How many leftovers did they collect at the end of the feeding of the 5,000? 12 baskets of leftovers. 12 baskets of leftovers. So, look at this. We have 12 containers of leftovers here. What a surprise. So, 12, and what does the number 12 remind you of? Disciples, 12 disciples, and 12 disciples maybe stand for something else too? The 12 tribes of Israel. In other words, this meal for the people on the hillside is so overflowing, it has enough to feed all the people of God, all the 12 tribes, everybody feeds everybody. And there's leftovers here. So I think we need to see what's inside. I need a volunteer to come up and find out what's here. I think we're gonna ask. Hank, thank you so much, Hank. Come down here, okay. Hank, we need you to see what's in this container of leftovers. We've never opened, this is actually from the feeding of the 5,000. We're gonna find out right now, for the first time ever, what's happened. Okay, he's gonna open it up. Drum roll, please, yeah. What is leftover? Okay, Want to read that first slip there? What does it say?
There's about a dozen slips of paper.
A dozen slips of paper.
Approximately.
Okay, okay. What leftovers do we have in this community?
Julie Wu, our choir alto section leader, recently named a Commonwealth heroine by Representative Rogers. Julie co-founded the Pan-Asian Coalition plus Belmont Compost and also serves on Belmont's Diversity Task Force.
Let's hear for Julie. Yes, yes. So she's giving back to the community. Read something else. What else do you have in there?
Do I have it?
Yes, yes.
Our deacons, who reach out and care to our members in need with prayer, phone calls and visits, and emergency funds.
Reaching out to those in need. What else is in there? It's amazing.
There's more.
There's more leftovers. This is incredible.
And they're replicated, they're multiplied. TLC, which is Theology, Literature, and Coffee, engaging our members in theological study.
TLC, we all love TLC. There's more. Oh my goodness.
I better keep moving. On our Thursday morning Bible study, building community around the Bible.
We love Thursday morning Bible study. Yes, feeding our souls.
Our new annual Christmas play, The Velveteen Rabbit, in December 2023, bringing together communities of area actors, our own actors and choir, with all proceeds going to our partnership with the homeless and unhoused of the Common Cathedral community.
That's incredible leftovers we're sharing. Oh my goodness, I didn't know that one.
The outdoor church, Pam, leading us in feeding the hungry of Cambridge with sandwiches every 2 weeks.
There's just more leftovers. Oh my goodness.
More. Our children's choir creating community and bringing top hit songs like Jesus Loves Me to worship.
Yes, yes, I love that song.
Fiona Rodriguez-Clark, an ambassador for Morgan's Message in High School, passionate about mental health awareness, taking away the stigma of mental health and suicide matters.
One of our own teens making a difference in this world. Oh my goodness.
Bristol Lodge Food Kitchen, Cynthia leading us in feeding the hungry of Waltham with home-cooked meals once a month.
There's so many leftovers. Oh my goodness.
Get down there. Sacred Hikes, bringing families together through nature walks of the sacred.
Sacred Hikes. Oh my goodness.
Our adult choir, a community of song that inspires us all.
Thank you, Leah. Thank you, Leah.
Monica Foundation for Haitian Refugee Families, Who is My Neighbor events.
Which Josh has been leading us in that. Thank you so much. Let's give Hank a hand for sharing some of the leftovers. We have 12 baskets to go through here. Actually, David, can you come forward here? I think we have one that Joe shared from Plymouth before he left. He said, these are some of the leftovers that we share from Plymouth. So come down here. What do we have here? Speak up loudly.
Okay.
And he didn't have a chance to write a lot of things down. He was on his way to California, but there was, it's a tricky container.
I wonder if it's over.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
And we're so glad to share our summertime services with Plymouth, and they have leftovers.
10% of the pledges and offerings go to the Belmont Food Pantry and the City of Boston Mission.
Giving from
Shout out
Plymouth.
to Belmont Food Pantry.
Yeah.
Blake here that organized.
Excellent, excellent.
Plymouth Church Choir and the wonderful community that they enjoy under Hugh's direction. And we have Carl as a representative today.
Oh, fantastic. Yes.
He wants a personal identification. Okay, it's okay.
Oh, please, please. I'm trusting you. I'm trusting you.
Here's a little ham and cheese sandwich.
Yeah. That's leftover from Jesus. Yeah. No, it wouldn't be ham and cheese. No.
Oh, here we go. Plymouth runs the food pantry on the fourth Sunday afternoon each month.
Given to the. Excellent.
On Fridays, we go and unload the truck.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Plymouth many volunteers in the community through Belmont Religious Council, Belmont Serves, and more.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's give a big hand. Oh my goodness. There's more.
There's one more.
There's more.
I did that because we did Belmont,
Oh, okay.
Belmont,
Yes.
Ecuador ago. Plymouth Children Choir and Spring Ensemble.
And the gift of music for there, yes.
Hey,
great. Oh, and the leftovers are just cascading down. Oh my goodness, so thank you so much. Now, Joe, as I said, Joe didn't have a chance to write down everything, but these communities have so much to give. You have so much to give. So when Jesus says, you give them something to eat, you say, sure, sure, yeah, you say sure. So Jesus is quizzing us again. You see all these people? You see all these people out there? You give them something to eat. You give them something to eat. We have so much to give. Love and faith making all the difference. I mean, look at these leftovers. Look at the leftovers. Thanks be to God.